If you like food and travel, then you must have heard of the Michelin Star. A Michelin Star is a prestigious award given to restaurants that demonstrate outstanding culinary excellence. The stars are a symbol of superior quality and a mark that chefs around the world dream of earning. But here's the twist. Michelin is a French tire company. So why is a tire company rating restaurants and giving out stars? And how did the Michelin Guide and its stars become the most coveted symbol of excellence in the culinary world? And more importantly, are Michelin stars truly a mark of quality or are they just overrated? Let's find out. The story of the Michelin Guide is one of the strangest and most successful marketing pivots in history. A booklet made to sell tires that turned into the most famous dining guide on earth. The Michelin brothers, Andre and Edward, ran a tire company in central France. At the dawn of the automobile age, there weren't many cars on the road. Back in 1900, there were fewer than 3,000 cars in all of France. Their tire company needed drivers to wear out tires faster, but cars weren't being used much. So the brothers asked, how can we encourage people to drive more, travel longer distances, and therefore buy more tires? The answer was the Michelin Guide. Published in the year 1900, the Red Handbook was given away free at first. It included road maps and repair tips to reduce the fear of getting stranded, list of mechanics, gas stations, and tire depots to make road trips practical, hotels and restaurants along the way to give drivers reasons to travel further. The underlying idea was simple: make motoring easy and more attractive, and tire sales will grow. This was pure content marketing before the term even existed. A value-added publication that built trust, positioned Michelin as a driver's ally, and stimulated demand for its core product. By encouraging people to hit the road for good food and comfortable stays, Michelin cleverly linked travel, pleasure, and necessity. That is, new tires. Over time, the dining section proved so popular that it overshadowed the rest of the guide. But at its core, the guide was a marketing tool designed to boost the tire business. And it worked brilliantly. By 1920, the guide was so respected that Michelin stopped giving it away for free, recognizing its standalone value. Anonymous inspectors began visiting restaurants, and in 1926, the guide started awarding stars, at first just one. By 1931, Michelin moved to the familiar 3-star scale that is still used today. But what do the Michelin stars actually mean? Michelin gives 1 to 3 stars not to chefs but to restaurants for the food on the plate. 1 star is for high quality cooking that is worth a stop. 2 stars are for excellent cooking and it is worth a detour. And 3 stars are for exceptional cuisine and is worth a special journey. The stars are about the cuisine, not the decor or the service. Those things can still influence your overall experience, but they are not supposed to affect the star count. The guide also played an interesting role during the Second World War. The maps in the Michelin Star Guide were so detailed that the Allied forces used the 1939 guidebook maps when they stormed the beaches of Normandy in France. Okay, now let's talk about the selection process. The process of awarding a Michelin star is quite structured, but is also famously secretive. Michelin employs full-time inspectors who are trained extensively, often in hospitality, or they come from culinary backgrounds. Michelin keeps its inspectors anonymous and on salary, and they pay their own bills to stay independent. It is said that their identities are kept secret even from their families and friends, which I don't quite believe to be true. Come on, they are food inspectors, not spies. Inspectors visit restaurants that are already known for quality, recommended by peers, or are newly opened with a buzz. Restaurants cannot apply for a Michelin star. Inspectors simply choose where to go. When they assess a restaurant for stars, they use the same 5 universal criteria everywhere in the world: quality of ingredients, mastery of cooking technique, harmony of flavors, the chef's personality expressed through the cuisine, and consistency across the menu and over time. The restaurant is visited multiple times by different inspectors before a decision is made. Consistency across visits is critical. One great meal isn't enough. Michelin quickly learned that diners want guidance at every price point. In 1955, it created the Bib Gourmand to highlight places that offer good value. Think excellent, satisfying food at moderate prices. Many travelers treat Bib Gourmand picks as can't-miss affordable gems. In recent years, Michelin added the Green Star to recognize restaurants that lead on sustainability, sourcing responsibly, reducing waste, supporting biodiversity, and so on. From that first 1900 booklet for French motorists, the Michelin Guide now covers numerous countries and regions around the world, with selections published online and in its app. Official pages outline the global region-by-region coverage and reinforce that the same criteria applies everywhere. The guide has also branched into hotels with the Michelin Key, launched in 2024-25, an award that identifies outstanding stays using criteria specific to hospitality. Think architecture, service, character, value, and a hotel's contribution to its neighborhood. It's separate from the restaurant stars, but it shows Michelin's wider travel ambitions. As of August 2025, there are almost 3,700 Michelin star establishments across 48 countries. Of them, 3,000 plus are 1-star, 500 plus are 2-star and 150 plus are 3-star. France leads with 614 Michelin star restaurants, followed by Italy, Japan, Germany, and Spain. For a restaurant, a Michelin star can boost revenue dramatically. And for chefs, they are like Olympic medals. They instantly signal skill, dedication, and mastery. Many chefs openly admit that they don't just chase stars for money, but for professional validation and legacy. Investors and hospitality groups also use Michelin recognition as a benchmark of quality when acquiring restaurants or chefs. Okay, now that we have some background on the Michelin star restaurants, let's talk about whether they are overrated. If you look at the numbers, you will see an obvious bias, the geographical bias. Europe leads with 2518 restaurants, followed by Asia with 832 restaurants, North America with 304 and South America with 28. Africa, Australia and New Zealand have 0 Michelin stars. And if we consider the population of these continents, the stars look even more biased. A country like India with over 1 billion people and a great culinary scene has no Michelin star restaurants, while entire continents like Africa and Australia have been totally left out. Does that mean they don't have good food? Obviously not. Michelin guides are usually by a city or a country or a region, so if your restaurant doesn't fall within that geography, no matter how great your restaurant is, it will not get a star. Now let's talk about funding. Who pays for the Michelin guide? The Michelin guides are primarily funded by the Michelin Tire Company as part of its overall brand marketing strategy. It also generates revenue through other channels like guide sales, digital products, licensing, and branded events. But in recent years, tourism ministries and local governments, such as those in South Korea, Thailand, Canada, US cities, and even Israel, have paid significant fees, sometimes millions of dollars, for Michelin to create new guides for their cities or countries. Michelin says funding agreements don't affect which restaurants get chosen, but these deals do influence where the guide shows up in the first place. A star can change a restaurant's life overnight, bringing global attention, fuller books, and a flood of job applicants. That's the upside. The downside is pressure. For years, chefs have talked about the stress of chasing and maintaining stars. Chasing or keeping stars can push restaurants towards expensive ingredients, larger brigades, and perfectionist routines that don't always make financial sense. At the same time, losing a star can also harm the business. Some chefs have asked to be left out entirely, saying the expectations that come with a star don't fit their cooking or business model. But then, you cannot return a star. Stars are awarded or revoked solely by the Michelin guide, not by the chef or owner's request. There have been high-profile cases of chefs asking to be removed from the guide due to the immense pressure of maintaining standards. But as Michelin's international director has stated, the concept of giving back stars is kind of an urban myth. The only way to reliably lose a star is through changes in quality, closure, or a major shift in restaurant's concept. Some critics have long argued that Michelin favors a certain fine dining template, tasting menus, formal service, and a European-style technique, or that it was historically more generous in certain countries or cuisines. Michelin has tried to address this with a bib government and varied recommended picks, but the spotlight still skews towards white tablecloth temples of gastronomy. Another point that we cannot ignore is the fact that eating at a Michelin star has become less about food and more about status signaling. Diners often see eating at a Michelin star restaurant as an achievement or a way to showcase taste and sophistication. On social media, posting a meal from Michelin starred spots acts as a form of cultural capital, similar to wearing luxury brands or driving an expensive car. Diners don't just pay for food, they pay for the experience of status. Eating at a Michelin star restaurant signals refinement to others. I'm the kind of person who eats here. This ties to Pierre Bourdieu's concept of cultural capital, the idea that taste in food, art, or music reflects class and education. Michelin-starred meals often cost 2 to 3 times more than non-starred fine dining equivalents. In places like Tokyo or Paris, wait time for top Michelin restaurants can stretch to months. In Japan, some Michelin-starred ramen shops sell out in under an hour, not just for taste, but for the status of saying you ate there. And of course, people do post their pics on social media of them eating there. The world should know that you are at a Michelin star establishment. Okay, so sometime back I was in Dubrovnik in Croatia, and there's a Michelin star restaurant there that serves Bosnian food. One night I decided to visit that place for dinner. I had to wait at least an hour before I could get a seat. The food was good, the service was good, but the price, it was a bit much. The next day I traveled to Mostar in Bosnia and Herzegovina. I had lunch there at a local restaurant and I ordered some really nice Bosnian dishes. It wasn't a fancy place, but the service was good, the food was good, if not better than what I had last night. I ordered probably twice the amount and paid almost quarter the price. And yes, no waiting time. But despite all this criticism, we must admire the fact that Michelin does follow a pretty scientific process in rating the restaurants. The 5-point criteria that is used for rating the restaurants is transparent and applied globally. When stars move up or down, there's usually a culinary reason behind it. Ingredients, technique, flavor harmony, personality, and consistency. Inspectors are salaried, travel widely, and pay their own checks. Anonymity is imperfect in the age of social media, but the system is still built to minimize favoritism. Like it or not, the little red star remains the world's quickest, most widely recognized signpost for this kitchen is doing exceptional work. For many travelers, it's a practical filter in unfamiliar cities. And this is the reason why they are still in existence after more than 125 years. And yes, Michelin star is obviously way better than most modern day Instagram food bloggers, who are often just paid PR machines of restaurants and recycle the same 5 words to describe their experience at a restaurant. And in my opinion, taste is subjective. Everyone's likes and dislikes are different. Everyone has different taste buds. So you cannot quantify taste. Some may like spicy food, some may like plain and bland, some may like healthy stuff, and some may like a greasy pizza. Food is meant to be enjoyed and not to be rated. So what do you think of the Michelin stars and how would you rate these stars? Let me know in the comments. That brings us to the end of the video. My name is Ajay and this is Alive and Curious. And if you like the video and for more such stories from around the world, please like, share and subscribe to the channel. You may also consider becoming a part of the Alive and Curious community, which will give you access to the exclusive perks. Thank you. See you in the next one.